From BBC Learning English, this is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines.
In this programme, violent protests in Los Angeles. Trump sends Marines.
Hello, I'm Phil.
And I'm Pippa.
In this programme, we look at one big news story and the vocabulary in the headlines that will help you understand it.
You can find all the vocabulary and headlines from this episode as well as a worksheet on our website, bbclearningenglish.com.
So, let's hear more about this story.
Immigration raids in Los Angeles have led to protests, some of which have become violent.
These protests began last Friday, and some have led to clashes with immigration authorities, vandalism, and looting. President Trump has sent National Guard and US Marine troops into the city.
The mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, has introduced restrictions to a part of the city centre to try and control the violence.
Police say they have arrested lots of people.
Let's have our first headline. Mass arrests in LA as police enforce nighttime curfew. That's from the BBC.
Yeah, that headline again. Mass arrests in LA as police enforce nighttime curfew. And that is from the BBC.
This headline is about the mayor's restrictions, and we're going to learn the word curfew.
A curfew is a restriction where people are banned from being outside in a particular place at a particular time. Curfews are commonly used by authorities during times of violence or unrest.
In this story, people have been banned from being outside in an area of central Los Angeles at nighttime, which can be described as a curfew.
Curfew can sometimes be used more generally. For example, particularly in American English, parents can give their children a curfew, a time they need to be home by in the evening.
We've had curfew, a restriction on being outside at a particular time.
For example, the curfew meant that everyone had to be home by 8 o'clock.
This is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines. Today, we're talking about unrest in LA and President Trump's response to it.
In response to the protest, President Trump sent National Guard troops and US Marines to the city.
This move was opposed by California State Governor Gavin Newsom, as well as the mayor.
It's very unusual for the president to send troops without the approval of local politicians. This has led to arguments between the governor and the president.
Let's have another headline. This one's from Fox News. US Marines to deploy to Los Angeles to help quell anti-ICE riots.
That headline again from Fox News. US Marines to deploy to Los Angeles to help quell anti-ICE riots.
This headline is talking about the decision to send US Marines to Los Angeles, to deploy them. But we're interested in the verb quell.
Yes, quell means to stop something. It's often used in law enforcement to mean stop unrest, a riot or a rebellion, often by force, and that's the meaning that it has in this headline.
Yes, but we can also use quell to talk about calming feelings. So you can talk about quelling doubts or quelling fears. Again, quell here just means to stop the doubts or fears.
And yes, we can also talk about quelling jealousy, quelling excitement, but it is much more common in written language than spoken language.
We've had quell, stop or calm.
For example, the police managed to quell the trouble quickly. This is Learning English from the News from BBC Learning English. We're talking about Donald Trump sending the Marines to Los Angeles.
President Trump has said that he sent the troops to LA so that federal immigration officers were able to do their jobs safely.
The city's mayor and the state governor have argued that there's no need for a military presence in the city and that it could provoke further violence. Let's have another headline. A self-fulfilling prophecy. How the clash in LA could explode, and that's from Politico.
That headline again from Politico. A self-fulfilling prophecy. How the clash in LA could explode.
This headline is talking about the possibility that the situation could escalate out of control as protesters react to an increasing military presence.
We're going to look at the phrase self-fulfilling prophecy.
We use self-fulfilling prophecy to describe a situation where talking or thinking about something makes it happen.
So, here, the military have been sent to LA because of fears of more violence. But some people argue that having soldiers on the streets will cause more violence.
This is described as a self-fulfilling prophecy because the writer thinks that the fears and predictions about violence could themselves lead to more violence.
Self-fulfilling prophecy is often used in psychology to describe a situation where someone believes something will be true, and so they act in a way that makes it happen.
One example could be that if people believe they'll fail at something, they're less likely to act in a way that will let them succeed.
Another example could be that if people believe that a bank is likely to fail, they're less likely to trust the bank with their money, and so therefore the bank is more likely to fail.
We had a self-fulfilling prophecy, a situation caused by predicting that it will happen.
For example, she thought she would fail her driving test, so she didn't prepare. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy when she failed.
That's it for this episode of Learning English from the News. We'll be back next week with another news story.
If you've enjoyed this programme, try the worksheet on our website to test what you've learned, bbclearningenglish.com.
Don't forget to search for us on social media and find our accounts there. Just look for BBC Learning English.
Bye for now.
Goodbye.